Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to Fair Face Fail Productions. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I've never been a huge fan of voiceovers on my channel, but I was up at Golden Horseshoe riding some single horse track in Breckenridge, Colorado, and we just really didn't have any good topics at the time, and I wasn't really feeling like talking. So my topic today is going to be focusing on what are the biggest concerns and challenges for new riders coming to dual sporting and dirt riding? And I kind of combine those two together because they're one and the same, I suppose. As dual sporting, if you're going to be on and off the road, it comes with its own challenges, as well as becoming a new dirt rider. Not everybody out there started riding bikes at a young age. I know this is important to me because I did not start riding at a young age. I was almost 19 by the time I started riding. And maybe that's a young age. I mean, I suppose it is, but when we're talking about young age, I suppose some of the people who rode bikes when they were, 5 years old or whatever. But I didn't start riding until a little bit later when I was about to turn 19, and that was a hard thing for me. I was never a super athletic kid. I had just joined the military and was kind of getting some freedom in my life, and I've always been more of an introverted person in a lot of aspects of my life. So socializing and grouping up with others was pretty difficult for me. And I think that's a big one. Dual sporting, especially, we attract people of all different types. I've ridden with everybody from farmers to super extroverted, very talented riders to those who are very timid and just want to learn the sport. And myself being a very introverted individual, trying to meet new people, I think one of our biggest challenges in the dual sporting world is a lot of us may be more introverted and we don't want to get out there, or talking to somebody new is really difficult for us. And then that means, sometimes you don't want to ride because you don't have anybody to ride with. That could be a safety thing too. A lot of new riders, we don't feel confident going off by yourself. Even me now, I've had enough incidences where I've injured myself out there to where I don't always feel super confident going by myself. I would say that I'm at a point now where I'm pretty comfortable with it, but when you're new, you don't want to do that stuff by yourself. So there's a little bit of a challenge for introverted folks in the sport when we join to, get out there, find the groups, and, ride with new people you don't know. That's a really good challenge. So I think that's one of the better things that we do in the dual sport community is we really invite people to come in and have a good time and, not give them, the Debbie Downer and, hey, you suck, maybe you should not do this. So you always want to be encouraging. And I think the sport overwhelmingly does that. I was always very encouraged by most riders out there on both YouTube and in the real world. I think another one of the largest challenges to coming to the dual sport world and dirt riding too is finding the right bike for you. There's so much information out there. That was really a struggle for me back in the day, and you can do tons and tons of research. I'm the type of person who I'll research something to absolute death, and on paper it seems like a great idea, but in practice it really isn't. That's something that I struggled with, and for you, a bike is a very individualized thing. A lot of times if you buy a car or a Jeep or something, it's going to do what the vehicle is capable of. Bikes are very much how does it fit you, how does the weight work with your body, how tall are you, how strong are you. A lot of those things play together. So, and I don't want to go into a whole what type of bike is best for you, but more times than not in the community, we encourage bikes that may not be the right fit for an individual person because we have a bias. Me personally, I really love Beta. Beta's been really great to me here recently. We've ridden tons of their bikes at this point, so we're a huge fan. But the fact of the matter is Betas are really expensive, between $10,000 and $12,000, and even used, they're still quite expensive. So that's one hurdle. The other big hurdle is they're real tall. So somebody who's shorter is not going to feel confident, especially a newer rider is not going to feel confident on a real tall bike. Instead of recommending, hey, go get a Beta, they're the best bike out there, I would recommend somebody new would look at something, if they're like 5'6", 5'8", look at something like an old Suzuki DR350 or a Yamaha XT225 or 250. Get something small and fits your frame. That's pretty important as far as advice goes for getting dual sports. You really want to find something that fits you individually, and you take everybody's advice. Most people that have ridden for a while, they know something, but you got to take every piece of that bias and everything else and make it into your own and find something that fits you. And the other thing is don't have buyer's remorse. If you buy a bike that you're not totally confident on or comfortable with, you got to have that hang-in factor. Stick with it. Don't fret it too much. and you kind of learn from that. If you've got to pay on the bike or pay it down, enjoy it while you have it, learn on it, and then move on to another motorcycle. Oftentimes, bikes hold their value much better than cars do. So that's a much more feasible thing to do in this sport than, say, with a car. And like me, I'll give my personal example here is now that I own a DR350, that was the bike that I should have bought for myself as a new rider. It's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit lighter than the DRZ 400, and of course that's the bike that I ended up buying was the DRZ 400. And I loved that bike to death. I had it for a long time, almost 10 years I had that bike. When I got rid of it, it had 36,000 miles on it, and that was mostly dirt riding. And that was an awesome bike, but I struggled with it because I'm short. I'm somewhere between probably 5'8", maybe a little bit less. And getting on that bike was a challenge. The bike was really heavy to me, and I'm not out of shape. Being a military guy, I'm at least have to be in some sort of decent shape. But it was really heavy, so when I dropped it a lot, being a new rider, picking it back up, that was really a struggle. After 4 or 5 times dropping a DRZ, you really kind of start to lose faith in humanity. But luckily, I had a lot of friends and people who supported me in the sport, and they were like, hey, they'd pick your bike up for you, and they'd keep your motivation going. This is how you get up the hill, or maybe we'll help you over this obstacle. Tons of that, and that was another, once again, great part of the community that made my not the best choice of dual sport for me a better experience. I think the next big thing that we kind of miss in the dual sport world is understating other people's challenges while riding, I guess, or maybe they've got a certain type of terrain or something like that they really struggle on. So the other day we were riding out with a good friend of mine, Tori is her name. And she's ridden for a few years, but she doesn't get out often enough. We work, and you don't really maintain that experience. And there's a lot of things that you kind of have to get over or relearn when you come back to riding again. And one of her big challenges was going downhill. So you get in your head and you start to go down a hill and you get really freaked out and you're grabbing the brakes. You want to stop. That feeling of the momentum of the bike carrying away. That's something that is terrifying to her and me personally. That was probably my biggest challenge too, is going down hills. Still to this day, I struggle with it. I don't know why that is. I feel much more comfortable going up a hill. Yeah. So we just got to kind of thinking about it, and really, we have to kind of look out when we're riding for people when they have challenges on certain objects, to encourage them and push them through, and maybe give some advice for tips to work on it as individuals. Because at the end of the day, riding a motorcycle, we can't make anybody get better. Like that just isn't the thing. You can give advice and some pointers, but they have to learn it for themselves. And that's the great thing about dirt biking. And when they get more confident, you see how excited they get and how much fun they're having. And I love that. I kind of love that when I see that in people. And even in myself, when I get over something that I thought was really hard, or I did a trail that was like, oh, wow, a few years ago I would have really struggled on this. That's a great feeling. So recognizing people's challenges and encouraging them when you're out with your friends, or maybe it's you that's having the challenge yourself. Look at it as an opportunity to learn, not an opportunity to say, oh, I suck and I'm holding up the group of people and I just need to get better. Like, look at it as a learning opportunity. And 99% of the time, if you're riding with cool people, they're going to encourage you, they're going to wait for you, and it's not going to be a big deal. They're not going to sit around saying, oh, this guy just really sucks. If they're sitting there waiting for so long, then they should be trying to help you or something else, right? So, it all comes down to finding the right people to ride with and keeping that motivation to keep riding. Oh, and another one that I just was thinking about was getting a bike for somebody who is not mechanically inclined, right? Not a lot of people, I don't know. I mean, motorcycles are something you learn to work on yourself, and a lot of times the basic maintenance is pretty simple. But if you're new to riding, you've never ridden before, you've never worked on cars, and it's just something you want to learn how to do, it can be pretty intimidating today. Like, I just bought this motorcycle. I have no idea how to work on it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Being kind of terrified of your bike is, I was always worried about that too. I grew up being more mechanically inclined with my family, owning shops and always working on cars. But I can attest as to somebody that cars and motorcycles don't relate real well on a lot of things. So when it comes to others, if you're real stressed about working on bikes and stuff, when you get into the community and you find some friends to ride with and start talking to people on, be it Facebook or whatever other social media platform you use, you'll find out real quick that those guys will be like, "Oh yeah, I'll teach you how to change a tire. We'll do a tech day, and everybody can come over and do their oil and air filters and stuff." And that's pretty common. Like, people are great. Like, that was one of the things that really kept me going. Was you stay in touch with people. Somebody knows how to do it. Somebody's going to help you, and there's really never the need to worry about being out on your ass, so to speak, with a broken bike that nobody's going to help you fix, or you can't afford to take it to a shop. Because, let's face it, when we get into the sport, a lot of times we're like, hey, I bought this $2,000 bike that's got a huge problem. I broke something on it, and your buddy's helping you out and go a long way there. Another thing that I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but I wanted to expand on it, was the fear of being slow, I guess, is another big one. And maybe this is just the more introverted side of me, or I can be slightly competitive in some ways. But one thing that I had always worried about was being the slow guy. That sucks. Like, you're always behind. People are always waiting for you, and you get to that point where sometimes that really kind of weighs on you. Like, why do I always suck this much when you're in a group of experienced riders? And to this day, as much as I've ridden and stuff, I still I don't ride enough all the time or every weekend to really keep up with the faster guys. I know Meeker Extreme, we've ridden together quite a bit over the years, and I still can't keep up with him in most cases. But that's okay. I think I've learned that me personally as a rider, I'm just a slower rider, in the sense that I like to enjoy the ride a little bit differently than others. Some people like to blast through a trail and have lots of fun and do the hardest stuff they possibly can at all times. And there's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate that, and I love challenging myself. I've learned so much from people that are like that and that have that kind of drive. But me personally, I like going slower, going over stuff, and just kind of enjoying the ride. I have really no competitive streak in me to just blast through trails to just keep up with my buddies or maybe race. I'm just not who I am. And I've learned over time that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's okay to be that way. It's okay to be maybe the beta-type personality. I don't know. Terrible way to put that. But I know, once again, we were riding the other day with my friend Tori, who we talked about earlier, and it was like her constantly apologizing for being slow or holding this up. And truthfully, I was like, man, I'm just really enjoying being out with my friends and being out in the woods, and we were kind of exploring and checking some stuff out, and I was really having fun just with all that stuff in our conversations and everything else. Like, so there's different types of riders, and if you're a slower rider because you're new, you'll learn. The more you do it, the better you get, and no matter how much you suck at first, that's just gonna be how it works. I'm a really slow learner, so I totally understand it. But once you get over that hurdle, you kind of discover the rider that you are, so to speak. Where hey, I'm a really fast rider. Hey, I'm a slower rider. And either group that you fall into, there's nothing wrong with that. And accepting that and enjoying that with some others is good. Now, that being said, being too comfortable all the time is not a good thing. You can kind of be complacent on your skills, and dirt biking and off-road skills are something that you always have to hone and relearn every year. Pushing yourself into another group for a day to ride something harder is good. So a lot of times I'll go out with some of the slower groups of people that I ride with, and we have a real nice chill day. And other times we'll go do some single track, with Meeker Extreme or some of the others, and for them it's a moderate kind of day. For me, it's a really hard day, but I learn a lot, and I have a lot of fun. So don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because if you get into a hard situation, those guys are going to be there to pick your ass up anyway. All right, so we talked about some of the, I guess, dual sport challenges and coming to be a new dirt rider. Some of the things that come to mind for me when I was new to riding, being not that A-type personality, and being somebody who was never super athletic or didn't learn how to ride a bike at the age of 4. These are just some of my thoughts on how to keep your motivation in the sport. I've seen a number of people they've quit riding because they either can't find a group of people to ride with, or they just don't have the motivation to do so. And to keep that up, it takes some work on your part. You've got to find your group of friends, and you've got to find the time to get out and have fun. But you also have to not worry about a lot of the things that come with it. I know a lot of times I would fret just my stomach would be like, yeah, I don't feel like riding today. I just don't want to be around people. But you got to push through that, because when you go out and do it and you have a good time, you feel so much better. And not to mention, it's a great form of exercise. That's great for us too. There's definitely that exercise high at the end of that. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate all my subscribers and everybody who's stuck with me for over the years. That really means a lot to me. And feel free to stick around. We're going to be doing lots more riding, and we always have more stuff coming around, and hopefully some new content coming this weekend. So I'll catch you next time. Ferret Face out.